22 June 1941, 03:15 hours, eastern bank of the Bug River near Brest-Litovsk. Darkness trembles before the first explosion. The ground shudders. A wall of fire tears open the silence. German artillery roars in unison, thousands of guns ripping through the pre-dawn air as tracer rounds arc like burning comets. The smell of cordite floods the riverbanks. Steel pontoons slam into water already churning with shock waves. Infantry of the Wehrmacht's 45th Infantry Division surge forward, boots slipping in wet grass, rifles tight to their chests. Searchlights snap on. The sky turns white. Across the river, Soviet barracks erupt. Windows vanish. Concrete folds inward. Red Army soldiers spill into courtyards, half-dressed, stunned, scrambling for rifles as Stuka sirens descend from above, that mechanical scream drilling straight into the spine. This is not hesitation. This is certainty. Panzer III and IV engines growl to life behind the lines, exhaust clouds rolling low and heavy. Commanders check watches, not maps. The schedule is already written. Minsk in days, Smolensk after that, Moscow before the leaves fall. Inside a Stab wagon miles west, orders flow smoothly, calmly. This is Blitzkrieg perfected. The enemy will fracture. He always does. A young German lieutenant pauses at the river's edge. The water reflects fire now, not stars. He believes, utterly, that this moment will be studied for centuries, the instant an empire cracked open. The bridges go up, the columns move, and somewhere far beyond the horizon, unseen and unconcerned, the Russian land waits, vast, silent, patient, as if listening. By 28 June 1941, the roads east are already clogged with victory. Dust hangs thick over Belarus, coating uniforms, filling lungs, turning men the color of the earth they conquer. Panzer Group II under General Heinz Guderian drives forward without pause, columns stretching for kilometers, steel noses pointed relentlessly towards Smolensk. Radio traffic crackles with confidence. Soviet units are encircled, shattered, erased from maps almost as quickly as they appear. Destroyed Red Army trucks burn along the highways. Abandoned artillery lies twisted in ditches. Prisoners march west in endless lines, hollow-eyed, hands raised, guarded by soldiers who no longer bother aiming their rifles. Entire Soviet divisions collapse in days, sometimes hours. This is the war Hitler promised. Luftwaffe bombers dominate the sky, Heinkel 111s and U-88s hammering rail yards, bridges, and troop concentrations with clinical precision. Soviet aircraft rise to meet them and fall just as fast. By early July, thousands of Red Air Force planes are gone, many destroyed on the ground before their pilots ever reach the cockpit. German commanders begin to compete with the calendar. How far today? How many kilometers? Maps are redrawn nightly, arrows extended farther east, optimism baked into every briefing. Fuel convoys struggle to keep pace, but nobody slows down. To slow down would be to doubt, and doubt has no place here. Villages blur into one another. Birch forests give way to endless fields. The land seems to retreat endlessly, swallowing distance, mocking speed. But still, the Soviet response feels disorganized, desperate, human wave counterattacks smashed by machine guns and artillery. In Berlin, champagne glasses clink. In Moscow, Stalin refuses to believe the reports. Entire armies gone, cities falling. He says it is impossible. At the front, German soldiers begin to notice something unsettling. The enemy does not surrender everywhere. Some Soviet units fight to annihilation. No retreat, no white flags, just stubborn resistance. Pockets of men who refuse to vanish on schedule. It is brushed aside as fanaticism. No one yet understands it is a warning.
Mid-July 1941. The heat is relentless now. Engines overheat, radiators boil over along dirt roads churned into powder by tens of thousands of vehicles. Horses collapse in their traces, foam crusting their mouths. Men strip off tunics, march with sleeves rolled high, sweat carving pale lines through dust-caked skin. Smolensk falls, but it does not fall cleanly. Soviet forces under Marshal Semyon Timoshenko counterattack again and again, striking the flanks of German spearheads, forcing pauses where none were planned. Panzers sit idle while crews scavenge fuel from abandoned Soviet depots. Ammunition runs thin. Spare parts are already scarce. The distances are no longer theoretical. They are grinding, physical, merciless. The Blitzkrieg timetable begins to slip. Inside captured towns, German soldiers discover factories dismantled, rail yards sabotaged, wells poisoned. The Soviets are not just retreating, they are erasing themselves. Scorched earth, nothing left to seize, nothing to live off. At night, the sound changes. No more triumphant engines. Now it is coughing, hammering, men swearing softly in the dark as mechanics work by torchlight. Partisan attacks begin along supply routes. Trucks vanish, fuel columns burn. A driver might stop for a minute and never return. The rear is no longer safe, the front is no longer clean. And yet the orders remain the same. Push east. Maps still show Moscow as a dot, deceptively small, a prize waiting patiently beyond forests and rivers. Hitler diverts forces south toward Kiev, chasing annihilation instead of speed. Generals argue. Time bleeds away day by day, mile by mile. The first rains arrive. Light at first, then heavier. Roads dissolve into thick, sucking mud. Vehicles sink to their axles. Men strain, muscles screaming, trying to free machines never meant for this land. The Russians have a word for it. Rasputitsa. The roads are no longer roads. They are traps. And beyond the mud, far closer now than anyone admits, something colder is coming.
October 1941. Some mornings, breath comes out in fog. The mud freezes overnight, just long enough to let the columns move again. Tracks crunch instead of sink. Boots strike ground that finally resists. There is relief in it, the sense that the worst has passed. It hasn't. Snow falls without warning. Not a storm, just a quiet, steady descent. Soft at first, almost beautiful. It settles on helmets, on gun barrels, on the blackened hulks of trucks abandoned weeks earlier. Men laugh, briefly. Someone calls it Christmas weather. Then the temperature drops. Oil thickens. Engines refuse to turn. Metal burns bare skin. Fingers lose feeling, then pain, then movement. Summer uniforms offer no protection. The Wehrmacht was not issued winter gear. Not yet, not here. Panzer crews light fires beneath engines, desperate to keep fuel lines from freezing solid. The fires give away positions. Soviet artillery answers. A tank meant to spearhead the drive on Moscow becomes a stationary coffin. In the forests, Red Army units move differently now. White camouflage, skis, silent movement through terrain German troops cannot read. The Soviets have changed commanders. Georgy Zhukov takes control of Moscow's defense, pulling fresh divisions from Siberia, men hardened by cold, trained for this moment, their intelligence confirmed by spies that Japan will not attack in the east. German soldiers begin to see them at dawn. Dark figures gliding over snow, rifles already raised. The Luftwaffe struggles in the frozen air. Aircraft crack on landing. Runways vanish under snowdrifts. Supplies that do arrive are useless.
lubricants that freeze, boots that split, weapons that jam. And still, Moscow is visible on maps. So close. Church spires are rumored to be within artillery range. Some officers claim they can see the city's glow at night. Hope flickers, thin, fragile, dangerous. The order comes down. One last push. No retreat, no pause. The men step forward into the white, and the white steps back.
Late November 1941. The cold is no longer weather, it is an enemy. At dawn, rifles are found frozen solid, bolts locked in place like welded steel. Machine guns fire once, then cease. Men urinate on metal parts, desperate to make them move again. Frostbite spreads silently, toes first, then fingers, then ears, skin turning waxy white before blackening entirely. German forward units reach their farthest points. At Himki, barely 30 kilometers from the Kremlin, reconnaissance patrols peer through frozen forests toward Moscow's outskirts. They do not see a city collapsing. They see defenses, trenches, anti-tank obstacles, searchlights sweeping the snow like prison beams. This is not a capital waiting to fall. This is a city bracing to kill. Behind the lines, chaos spreads. Supply trucks fail to arrive. Horses die by the thousands, their carcasses lining roads like mile markers of defeat. Soldiers sleep standing, afraid to lie down and never wake. Morale fractures quietly, privately. Men stop talking about victory and start asking when they'll be relieved. They are not. On 5 December 1941, the earth answers. Before dawn, Soviet artillery opens fire along the entire front. Not scattered shells or rolling thunder that never seems to end. Then the Red Army advances. Ski troops, infantry, T-34 tanks cutting through snowdrifts the German armor cannot cross. The counteroffensive is everywhere. Units shatter, orders conflict, retreats begin without permission, then with it. The myth of invincibility dies in frozen ditches, alongside abandoned guns and burned-out vehicles marked with black crosses. For the first time, German soldiers are not advancing. They are running. And the winter is not finished.
December 1941 to January 1942. The order comes too late. Hitler forbids withdrawal, demands the line be held at all costs, insists that willpower can conquer climate. But willpower does not restart engines. It does not thaw flesh. It does not stop Soviet artillery from finding its mark in white, open fields. The retreat happens anyway. Not as a maneuver, as a collapse measured in footsteps. Men march west with blankets wrapped around their heads, faces gray, eyes hollow. Weapons are discarded to lighten loads. Tanks are blown up by their own crews, not to deny the enemy glory, but because there is no fuel left to move them. Roads are littered with frozen bodies, some seated, some kneeling, as if they simply chose to rest. The Red Army presses relentlessly. Zhukov's forces do not chase recklessly. They grind forward, kilometer by kilometer, reclaiming villages, rail junctions, forests once marked confidently in German ink. The Soviets have learned. They adapt. And now they believe. For the Wehrmacht, belief drains away. Officers tear pages from maps, redraw objectives smaller each day. Radios fall silent, units vanish. What began as a campaign of annihilation becomes a struggle for survival. By February 1942, the front stabilizes, but the damage is irreversible. The promise of a 10-week victory lies buried under meters of snow, alongside shattered divisions and the illusion of inevitability. Germany has not lost the war, but it has lost the future it expected. From this moment on, every mile east will be paid for in blood, steel, and time it no longer controls. The Russian winter did not win the war alone,
but it proved something deadly and final. The Reich can be stopped.